issues, I would rather you come up to me and address me.
We couldn't get you away from Brian.
But that's the thing.
2 seconds.
The problem with the whole situation with, and this is something that was on my fault, so I tried to start making it apparent that Brian was going home, like when I was, like, would say off comments, is that you guys could have come up to me, and I know it would be uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable.
You could have come up to me with Brian sitting there and asked me what my vote was, and I would every single time, like, at that moment say, I'm going to vote for Brian.
Right.
Because Brian knew that I was voting him out.
But you still were campaigning for votes. I mean, do you understand the dichotomy there?
How can we confront
There's a dichotomy.
Angie? How can we confront Angie when she's still campaigning to get Brian in the house?
She said that she was campaigning to keep Brian in the house is because she had heard about YouTube. I mean, and I don't know.
Once again, it's us two.
Well, I'm not saying
the funny thing is,
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you, she had heard YouTube, and I can't even vouch for any of it because I swear I have not said I don't know what the whole thing is. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay. You know, when it comes down,
do you know what I'm saying?
When it really comes down to it, you know, wine was involved last night. You guys basically, I mean, it turned into like, we couldn't even come as a group and like hang out for more than an hour without it, you know, turning into awkward situations. And it was just like, how am I mean, I don't feel safe with these people.
God. Don't feel safe? Like physically safe?
No.
Oh.
I don't feel safe as far as them watching my back.
Oh my God.
But that's where my paranoia came into play.
Something's just not adding up for me. I'm sorry, I'm in this conversation right now, but I'm lining things up. And I'm lining them up. And it's just, it's just
I want to know what you're lining up is.
I'm lining up the fact that my name and April's names are the only ones that are coming to you in conversations. Which, honestly, I'm sorry, but there are more than 2 people in this house that can control voting, that can control a lot of things. But it still just is me and her whose name's coming back to you.
But you need to tell them that I never came to you. I mean, you can tell them the truth. I never came to you and said, April.
You know what I mean? Like, how confusing is that? Like, wouldn't you be confused if it was just you and somebody else's name, you know, constantly coming to you? And not like the greater whole of the house.
Which in some situations were, I mean, so individual that we're like, where the fuck is this coming from?
And you can go right next door, ask Ollie. You can ask any of these other people in here. Memphis, you can ask Jesse.
See, the guys kind of lay low and let
it's not just us two. But we're taking the brunt of it, and I'm not understanding it when it comes to you. I'm just confused.
Right.
I'm really, really confused right now. No. Like I'm so confused, like I'm frustrated, I need to go lay down or something, because this doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, logically, it doesn't make sense. Why is it just us two? Not anybody else in the house, just us.
And maybe the guys are campaigning against us. I don't know, maybe Libra and I are a fucking huge-ass target. I have no idea.
Well, let me just lay that out for you guys. I 100% do not think the guys are aligning against you whatsoever. I think that they are.
Well, how come our 2 names, which in certain situations, I wasn't even there? Does people not understand this?
Okay.
That, I mean, I wasn't even fucking there. And
I mean, I have no problem saying, yeah, me, Libra, and Ollie came up with that, and we went told because I don't like Brian.
But why is mine?
But the thing about it is that I don't think that anybody's, I mean, like, I'm not upset at you guys for coming.
Nobody's saying that you're upset, but it's just frustrating when you know what in certain situations and circumstances that you've been in and that you haven't been in. Or when there's been the greater good, the greater whole of the house, it's felt a certain way, but you're the only one that is apparently masterminding this. That's frustrating.
Which the only thing is that we called out Brian for having multiple alliances. That's all it was. And how could you even be his friend when he had so many other alliances, even against you, Angie? And that's the only reason we wanted him out of the house.
Here's the thing: is that this is a game, and
well, good for Brian. And I gave him props.
No. This is what I mean to say by that is that there's a game that's being played, and there's also like relationships and friendships that are made. I could distinguish between the two where Brian is the type of person, and I know this is probably like ridiculous for me to say, but he's very much like a lot of my friends back home. So hanging out with him and hanging out with Steven were very much like a, you know, something that helped me relate back to home.
I mean, and I think that's great.
I don't blame you for that.
But the fact of the matter is that I was always able to separate it. I had conversations with Brian and says, you made a stupid mistake in the game. You made all these alliances early on, and it was a bad move. You got called out. There's nothing that you can do to be saved. And then we had multiple conversations about this.
I
over the
think
last
what
couple
made you a
days.
turkey is that you put yourself out there to save Brian.
When you kept asking for votes.
I mean,
And the thing is, when you gave us your word, and we're sitting there going, how can
I'm
we
confused.
trust you when you're sitting there campaigning for Brian for so long?
That was probably half an hour last night, and it was right after I had.
I mean, I understand it was like half an hour, but it happened.
It was a mistake. I mean, on my
there might
part.
be alcohol involved. And like I said, my tempers went flaring as well. And I embarrassed myself over, the things that I said or did or anything like that. And I completely take that back, 100%. But again,
I was in a state of mind last night when I did it, was like, oh my gosh, Brian's leaving. I can't believe it. Like, that was my thing, because it was like, what happened today is that I didn't feel like I had anybody in the house anymore. So I got scared last night.
But how could you when you're like turning?
You made
against
that
Yeah,
happen.
we did
I
it.
mean,
We
no,
tried
I didn't go. I'm not.
And then all
I'm
of a
not
sudden,
saying,
everything started changing. Like when we were all in that room and we said, "Okay, let's do this. Let's do this." And then all of a sudden, your word meant nothing anymore, because all of a sudden it was like, Brian. I don't care if I have to turn on Libra. I don't care if I turn on Keisha. I don't care if I turn on April.
I just
don't care
felt
if I have to turn
so.
on.
I was feeling. I told you exactly what I'm feeling. There's a fear that happened in me last night about the fact that Brian was leaving. Number two, I felt like every single time I would come in the room to hang out with you guys, it wasn't like the laughing and stuff that happened when I'm not there, when I hear it, like when I'm changing clothes or something like that. It always came down to talking about the game. And no matter, it was like almost to the point where over the last couple of days, every single time I reassured you of what was going on, it was like you said, 4-hour segments. 4-hour segments would go by and it'd just be like.
But don't let people come to you and say Libra and Angie. Unless I came to you to mount your face, Libra and April, then that didn't come from me. It didn't come from me. It came from somebody else that's trying to throw me under the bus.
If we can tell you something, the crazy part is about this whole situation, if I can be honest, your name never came up except for one time last night. And that was when we brought Michelle